most of you know already, I came here today for, the main reason was to meet this young man. Forgot your name?
Josh Arnold.
Josh Arnold. Because Josh has, is it psoriasis or eczema? It's eczema. And on several parts, but Miss Deborah's been helping him. So I'm going to let him tell you exactly his story and what motivated me to come here after she shared it during her educator conference this weekend in New York. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay, so I'm 35 years old. I've dealt with eczema for most of my life, all of my life that I can remember. Started out as just flare-ups here and there. In the last 10 years or so, it's been pretty well consistent. I've had it nonstop, so it moves around from this part of my body to that part of my body. And
yeah, I can see some here. Mm-hmm.
So I came into the cosmetology department to get my nose waxed one day.
Trooper.
We were asking for volunteers, and one of the ladies saw my eczema, asked me about it. After a short conversation, she said, "I think we can help that." And I said, "If you can, that's great. I'm down. Let's do it."
So you had the salt exfoliation and the mud, right? Is that correct, Deborah? I don't know. They did something. And where did you use this? Where did you use this?
They did both arms from
okay.
the shoulder down.
And did you notice any difference from just that treatment?
So it's always itched and burned pretty much constantly, and since then I've had a lot less the itching and burning. Some of the flaking and scabbing has gotten better. But yeah, for the most part, the itching and burning going away was a huge relief.
I would say the mud would be responsible for that more than the exfoliation. I told you before, for those of you we were talking, it's phenomenal. We also have the phenomenal, but the mud is phenomenal. It does a lot of great remedies, natural remedy. So I'm going to sugar, I'll sugar this hand today because I want to show you one treatment. So everything about AP and the sugaring, without a doubt, a shadow of a doubt, is really great for hair removal. There's just no two ways about it. There is nothing we can't do. It doesn't matter the color, tone, texture of your skin or hair. From legally blind albino, which means the most white, wiry, or unpigmented hair there is. I have so many stories of that. To the toughest Middle Eastern, which would be Persian. They have, like, I don't know, interconnected hairs. We've done everything from head to toe with tremendous success. The only thing we don't do is eyelashes and deep inner ear or up into the nose, which we're not supposed to go up there with wax and pull out. You could do the cosmetic hair removal of the edges, but you should never be going inside. Everything else we've done with great success. But over the years, we created the full circle of skin conditioning. The only reason we wanted this system was to help get rid of ingrown hairs that people had when they would come to us, or prevent them from coming back. Once you clear it up, you want to stop it. And I don't know how much you've learned so far, but there's a whole methodology to that as well. And that could be a class of its own, just to teach you about ingrown hairs, types of ingrown hairs, because 5 different kinds, what causes them and how to help prevent them. But if you cut through all that and you think of bikini ingrown hairs, because you're all women mostly in here, and you know, if you're going to find the worst kinds of ingrown hairs, it'll be in a bikini. You're going to have superficial. Superficial means, you know, it's just something, if you scratch it, pops out. Or you'll find the one that looks like a comedone. You squeeze it and you know, the white comes out as well as the coiled hair. And then you have the one that's more infected, and you have the ones that are filled with pustule and blood, right? Usually those ones happen because you go to war with them. You need to not create a war zone in your bikini. There's a way to get rid of every single ingrown you ever have in your bikini without ever having a mark left behind. And that was the purpose of the full circle. So if you think about it, when we're sugaring, the first thing we're doing, immediately, the very first thing is we're doing a light peeling or exfoliation, right? You sugar, you do your removal, and you can see in the sugar, you can see the skin cells. Then you go back over, and now it can penetrate into the follicles and grip that hair and help you slide it out in the natural direction. That's the very, very first base things that happen with any first-time customer. So when you're looking at that, you're going to have a good treatment of removing excess dead skin, having some decongesting of the follicles, because when the sugar goes in, it helps to bring out anything that's in there along with the hair. So that's the first step. And then when they go away, if you've done your treatment correctly, even if it's the first time, you're going to have some hairs that you took out in the telogen, which means the hair underneath, you don't know where it's at. There's a hair in the anagen somewhere. Here's a skin level. It could be here, it could be here, it could be just ready to pop through within a day or two, right? Those are the anagen hairs. But the hair that we're taking out in the anagen are going to take much longer to come back and come through the skin. So when you look at the bikini hair, where you have a deep terminal, deeper hair, versus the vellus hair, which is like so superficial, just sits like barely below the skin, right on top of the nerve endings, which is another issue. But the deep terminal hairs we have in our bikini, and you take that hair out in the anagen, this is what you have to remember, because we talked about excellence and really owning the information that you can share with your customers. Then they start to trust you, and you build on that. That terminal hair that you took out while it was attached to derma papilla in the anagen stage is going to take so much longer to come back. And what's going to happen here? The skin cells are going to start keratinizing. And everybody's different. Some people have such like lightning speed keratinizing, like it's just the dead cells just come back so heavy. So you have to keep that clear so that when this hair reaches, it can pop through, right? That was the birth of the full circle. Sugar first, decongest, get rid of the hair, send them home. Start the skin cell softening. That's the phenomenal. Its main function was to just soften the skin cells so that at home they can exfoliate easier. And when you exfoliate at home, which you can use the Dead Sea salt or the sweet cheeks, then once that's moved away and you put the mud, now the mud doesn't have to fight through all the cells, the dead cells. It can just go deep into the follicles and purge out. Purge out debris, purge out excess dead skin, purge out a hair that might be having trouble, right? Maybe it just got there and it started to curve. You want to clear the path, and you want to get, and you can't clear it unless you soften the skin. You want to clear it, let that mud go, and help to purge it out. Now when they come back to you and you go do the treatment, there's no excess of dead skin. It's a very easy treatment, fast, and the sugar penetrates the follicles even faster, lubricates the hair, and helps it. So your treatment goes much faster. I'm selfish. When I told you I spent an hour and a half on lower legs if they had ingrown hair problems, I'm serious. I would be that person giving the extras at no cost because I want to get them to a good place. But when I also said they have to follow the process at home to help me when they come back, that's where I get selfish, because now I know once we're partnered together, I can make my job so much easier, faster, and in the end, time is money. I gave to them in the beginning to help them. Now it's their turn to work with me so that the job is easier. And it worked well. But what we found over the course of a few years is that this full circle naturally defaulted into so much more than just ingrown hairs. Think about that bikini I talked to you about. Then you'll connect the dots with this. You have a lot of dead skin or congested follicles, keloid, because people pinch, 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 squeeze, squeeze, and then you break the skin and you get a keloid, pustules, inflammation. You have everything that can possibly happen to all kinds of ingrowns right there in the bikini. All this is, and this is generally caused almost for everyone. One of my daughters has some form of suffering from nervous system. Almost everything that shows on your skin, we already know stems from somewhere else. I'm not giving you anything new. Deborah with her alls, which we call oil on the other side of the world, but her alls, you all say alls or oils? Oils. Oil? It doesn't, O-I-L, oil. But she knows as well, I know. But she knows as well, everything stems from the inside. It's the same with this. So my thought, as we take care of this, because this is excess dead skin, a lot of excess dead skin caused from the internal traumas and all your thoughts that create that. My thought is, when we can take care of this, which I've seen, and we have so many before and afters, amazing photos of all ages and all traumatized skin with eczema and psoriasis. I think when you help clear that up, you start to think differently. And when you start to think differently, you help to repair yourself as well. So I think it's just one of those full circle situations. Yes, we're working on the exterior side, but when you start to feel good, right? Nobody can look any better than how they feel. Really, at the end of the day. When you feel good, you look good. We've all had the days where we're in a mirror going, you know, I'm not any different than yesterday, but today's not my day. It's here. And then you wake up, you go, I feel great. And then you actually feel like you look better. So this full circle helps people with sunburns. Like if you're traveling somewhere and you know you're going to be on a beach situation or anywhere in the sun extended, your white skin, my white skin, both of you, take the mud with you. You get a sunburn, put it on. Spritz it until it stops to dry fast. When it starts to take time, then it's pretty much deactivated. And then just rinse it off and you're going to see yourself not burnt the next day. Lots of testimonials on that. So the fact that he's able to live without the itching or the burning is step one. And the mud, he can do this mud at home himself. That's what he should do, because that's probably like when you have something and it doesn't look good, it's one thing, but when you have something and it doesn't look good and you feel the pain and so on of it, that's another thing to deal with. For me, it's like, if I, you know, like if you look at, if anybody's ever had herpes on their lips, like from the sun, you give me a fever or the sunburn, I'll get blisters on my lips. It's not, I know it's not attractive, and I know when people look at me, ugh, they feel like that. But for me, once the pain that zzz inside is gone, I can cope with it. So this is how I look at eczema and psoriasis. If we can help them be able to move around through the day without discomfort, that's step one. Do you have a garbage? Or?
Let's find
I can use this. You're just using one for the mud? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm choosing this hand because it's a lot more evident. Some of the, it's more broken out here. Did you all eat? Did you take time to eat? Yeah?
Oh, we were the only ones.
What's that?
We were the only ones behind on that.
Oh.
You want this, Miss Brown?
Oh, that was nice of you. I'm just making sure there's not too much of the moisture left on the skin before I put the powder, otherwise clumping. I think we've all been there. So I have my LK private, but some of these areas, from experience, I know when I go on it, it's going to want to absorb the sugar. So I'll also have some regular there. And sometimes I might even use tropical. The whole point of this is to remove as much of the skin cells as I can in one treatment. And you'll see if the skin weeps, the minute there's any weeping at all, whether it's clear liquid or blood, any weeping at all, you stop. Because you can't sugar anyway, it won't adhere. But that's your sign to stop. So you're not watching me like sugar here. This is something, doing something different. All right, let's start with this. Now let's go on the wrist. I'm going to take some of your hair here just a little bit, or all of it, just on this corner. Like even where you don't have the severity of it, you could do the mud and phenomenal and salt at home or scrub without the sugaring. The sugaring is going to help these areas, and all it's doing is clearing the skin so it can absorb the functionality of the other products better. So that's a lot of moisture already. I'm going to try one more though. And when you're doing this, if you're going to take yourself to that level of wanting to learn, maybe not right away, but I recommend, we have so many classes you can take to advance. You can already see it looks more vibrant. I'm going to keep going. And when you're done, you know, if you look at the before and after, the other one looked dry and crusty, and this looks vibrant. Some people, if you're not accustomed to it, you're going to think, oh, did I damage? No, it's the true cells trying to come through. That's the reason it looks like that. Here. Sugaring this is not something like, you know, it's not showing off a skill. It's more showing off what we can do for the skin. You okay? You can tell me if you're not, huh? I won't stop anyway, but you can tell me.
I'll just keep it to myself then.
No, I'm serious though. You should tell me. You can see how clear this patch is now, right? I don't know if you can see from where you are. So everything is very logical when you take a moment to just analyze. That's all I'm doing is releasing excess skin. And when you think of how it defaulted from ingrowns, that's all we're doing with ingrowns is releasing excess skin and repairing, you know, some damaged skin, keloids. But we'll take pictures before I do the mud. We'll take pictures what it looks like. We took pictures before, take pictures right after, and then we'll take it after the mud, and then we'll take it after the phenomenal. And that's where you'll see what one treatment can do. So you're scratching a lot too, right? When it's itchy? Are you scratching?
Yes.
That's what causes the deeper, it's kind of like us going at our ingrowns. That's what causes the deeper damages. Anybody suffer from anything like this here? Sometimes a lot of hairstylists end up with problems, huh? You all do? Yeah? Sometimes from the chemicals, and then everybody wears gloves. I think the, what else? the latex gloves caused more damage in the past. There was a girl when I was working in LA. I had a studio there in Brentwood, and she was a singer, not like a real like A-lister, but still a singer, and young, in her 20s. And she came to me with eczema, full lower legs. So she has not worn a dress. She can't remember the last time she wore a dress. And I worked with her, and I worked with her. I had her come a couple of times a week just for sugaring, even if we got rid of the hair, just for sugaring, and had her do her things at home. And within the first 30 days, next appointment, she came in a skirt. And after that, she just learned to take care of herself. I don't know who's sugaring her now because I'm not there. It's a long time ago. But it made all the difference. I have so many stories. Talking about the pain you're feeling. There was a girl in Australia. Michaela is her name. And her mom was one of our practitioners, and I went to Australia and was doing some training and chatting about this. And she didn't say a word, but her daughter had full-blown eczema on her backside, all her legs. And when she walked, this is in her words, when she walked, her skin would split and bleed and weep, right? Either, like I said, it's either going to be a liquid and sometimes a little bit of blood. And she was turning 16, so she was still 15 when I found this out. So her mom reached out to me, and I gave her a protocol to do with her daughter. And we have all that, Michaela. And then I had her on one of my shows, and on video. Her and her mom joined us. Anyway, by the time she turned 16, within 30 days, her situation was cleared. Not 100%, but much better. By the time she turned 16, she wore her miniskirt, went out partying with her friends, and she's never had it come back, but she stays on the system. I think it's like what I was saying, change your mind kind of thing also. Because at that age, all your friends are like going to the beach, and here we go. Good. I can still there's still a lot of dry right in between these two. The whole point of the first treatment is to get as much of that dead skin as you can. You still okay? You have to tell me if it hurts, huh?
I'm okay.
And you see I'm using the regular sugar because if I used my LK, it wouldn't come off. We should have had it on video. Some of our testimonial, like all those beautiful people we've helped.
I think this is in some of my next quarter for the aesthetics. It's in the advanced topics.
Okay, that's leaking there. So I'm going to recommend, like, he should have Phenomenal instead of itching, just because if he stops scratching, these will go away. See how firm? Like it just wants to absorb it. And it's not even hot, like the sugar's not even hot. It's the skin wants to just soak it in. Okay. I think we can mud this. Is it ready? Ready to go? I think that's a good first. Yeah, it's all good. I got it. Officially, Hungary uses this for eczema and psoriasis as well. It's just that I never considered anything like that, or even some of the testimonials I have for joint therapy. You'd be so surprised at the people that I've treated with this. I had to stop one of them when I was in Austin. I used to do a home group for people who suffer from fibromyalgia. Are you familiar with fibromyalgia? Anyone? Some? I heard yes? Okay, well, it's a form of, so let me, in layman's terms, there was a time where the doctors told the women that it was all in their head, when they, but now they have a name to it. It's quite painful. And there's a lot of reasons it can happen. But we don't need to go into that. Anyway, I was helping this one woman who was on 5, 6 different medications for 15 years for her pain. What's going to happen to you when you're on medication for 15 years? Your brain fog, right? You don't even know who you are, like without it kind of thing. Just functional. She was lovely. And her husband would bring her to me, and he was a regatta racer. And he figured this is all BS. You know, I was doing the joint therapy on her. And until he started seeing she had a spring in her walk. And then she's going up the stairs like, no problem. So he said to me, could you do my, I think I have like a tendonitis from the regatta. So I did his wrist and elbow 3 times. He's never had it to have it again. I have his testimonial online. So through her, he got to see how miraculous this mud is in the way that we were trained to do the treatments. So we're just going to let you hang there like this for a minute. And that was good, right? So she went to see her doctor, who was a specialist for fibromyalgia in Dallas. And he gave her a prescription to come to me so that she didn't have to pay for it, which of course, I don't have anything for that. I can't use a prescription. So, but she kept on doing, and he started taking her off her meds because her pain level was so greatly reduced. Problem, this is when I got out. I'm an open book, literally. I got a call one day, and her husband said, my wife would like to see you. She's in the hospital. What? Yeah. She couldn't handle herself without the meds. She was not the person like her. She saw her life differently. The children were different. The husband was different. And so she tried to take her life. And so I went to see her, and her hand was blown up like this. It was bad. And then after that, I never did that again. So because I'm not a qualified psychiatrist or a doctor, but you know, you think just because it's natural, it is safe. But there's other factors that come with certain ailments, you know. So we like to get more doctors working with it because it does so much good for so many people. I helped one man. He was a retired professor from UCLA, and they saw I had my chiropractor on the doctors with the mud showing joint therapy, and his granddaughter said, hey, whatever she called him, not grandpa, but whatever the word she called him. She said, I'd like you to try this. And again, that's crazy. That's not going to work. And she called me. She says, I don't know how to convince my grandfather to come to you. I said, okay, you tell him I'm not going to charge him. If he comes to me, I'll do a couple of treatments for free. And if he can look at me in my eyes and tell me he feels 0 difference, 0, I will not charge him. Sure enough, he came, and he could barely walk, bent, with a big walker, right? Bent like this. So she had to help me get him undressed because you've got to be completely, it's like joint therapy, it's very hot, all that stuff. And so she stayed with me, and then we helped him into the shower. That was the first treatment. He came back 2 days later, because it's every other day, and I said, do you feel any different? He says, well, it was not long-lived, but you felt something better, right? And he's a very intelligent man. And he says, we'll see. Okay, no problem. Second one, by the 6th treatment, he called me and he said he's on his exercise bike at home. I was like, that's amazing. And this man has never, he hasn't been on his back in forever, so we had to put him on his side to do the treatment, which was kind of challenging. And now he was laying on his back comfortably, and then he drove himself on a 7th treatment to us by himself. That was a big deal. Like this is what these natural things do, right? Pretty impressive. We have to leave this here, so if you have any questions, I'm here. Anything. Or if you want, while he's waiting, if somebody wants to have something sugared, I could do that. This was not considered a sugaring demonstration.
You're gonna sugar it?
I can do something on you. We can have this gentleman sit on a chair for now. We can bring a chair out for him.
I know, my underarms. Will you do my arms?
Full arms?
Like just right there.
Have you ever done them? You've never waxed them?
I've not sugared.
No, but you've waxed them. Okay, and the reason I ask is because the arms on your hair can be very, like vellus hair. Vellus sits, it's very shallow and it sits at the tip of, like just above the nerve endings. So sometimes when you extract vellus hair, people get a histamine reaction. That's why I ask. But if you've done waxing, we can do this. All right, so I'm gonna have you sit on a chair and I'm gonna steal the bed for a minute. Yeah. So for Josh, he would have to have something like this done at least once a week, if not in the beginning, once a month, if not at least twice a month, to keep those dead skin cells at bay. And then I would put him on a regime to mud himself every other day for 30 days at home, and then take it down and a phenomenal every day as well, either just morning or night. And then I think he'll be very happy. Okay, lift your arms, your sleeves. You want to prep her?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm going to take your jewelry off. I could do magic, but you know.
This one doesn't come off.
Okay, no worries. Do you have Sisimi in case? Oh, you do in Jablo. That'll work.
Both, it should be both of them.
That will work.
You got one on, both of them.
To build a really successful business in sugaring or a hair removal period, the only thing with sugaring is we can do so much more than if you're waxing or lasering or doing electrolysis. The reason being is because of what it is. So we can go further and do more for the skin's benefit. So if you're going to do something like this as your career, I mean, we have every class imaginable to help you get there. And when I was at the Philly show, I reminded everybody, just because you take a course and you get certified does not make you an expert. It gives you the go-ahead to start practicing. But it's up to you to carry that passion to keep wanting to learn more and do better, because you can. Now we'll use the LK Private.
Get a problem.
Okay, put your knee up. Thank you. So when it comes to the arm, I always start with the inside, and then I'll take any hairs out that are, oops, yep. I think it's, I need you to change my glove. Please and thank you. It feels excessively soft. You had it on high. It needs to be like, oh no, I need some powder. Generally, I keep that on like 94.
94. They actually
So
they never used.
if you don't mind taking a,
We'll take it out.
yeah, just a little drop of
Regular.
regular. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have a spatula? Or?
I didn't bring one in here.
Okay. I'm going to add a little, like you can always, we have the adjuster if it's too firm from when you're doing your first removal, and if you see a lot of dead skin, use the adjuster right away, and then you'll.
This is my regular, and then you.
Oh, we have like a collection. So there's the LK Private stock, that's the softest sugar, and the LK Plus is a cross between a regular, which is mid firmness, and an LK Private, and then you have Tropical. And you have Tropical Plus. But I'm going to tell you, if I ever find out any of you are ordering Tropical Plus, I'm going to want to see your technique, because that's really so firm. And each formula is formulated to be able to absorb more humidity than the other, which is important when you learn how to sugar. So when we train in places like Aruba or Singapore, anywhere where it's high humidity, even inside, and even if they have air cons, you can still do this and you still feel moisture. Generally, those people will use a firmer sugar. Yeah. I'm going to try to avoid your lovely bracelet.
Uh-oh.
Those are, what do you call it? My daughter does that, where you can't take them off, right?
Yes.
A histamine reaction? Hold on a second. I'm trying to avoid your hand and your bracelet. See, it doesn't matter. Even after 32 years and being the sugar queen, you still get into a hot, sticky mess. Sometimes. But we don't want to get it on her. I wouldn't damage her bracelet. She could wash it off, but
Right.
why go down that path? What was I saying before that? No, before that.
Oh yeah, the reaction.
Yeah, histamine reactions. Are you feeling that? Because you have a lot of fine hairs. You should be feeling like pinchy, but not, yeah. It's not deep terminal hair, but it's pinchy.
Mm-hmm.
That was the chair, not her. I was raised with 3 boys.
Twin brothers.
You do? How is that?
They're fun.
Do you look alike?
Yeah,
Or you have twin brothers, or you have a twin brother?
twin brothers. They're 16.
Okay. You're not a twin.
No.
Okay. Yeah, your sugar has absorbed a lot of humidity in here. I can feel it, because I normally fly through arms.
Yeah, it was.
What's that?
This room was real humid this morning.
Well, I'm really feeling, and that's a used jar. I would vouch to say that you might have kept it open at some time. The thing with the sugar, girls, it's the most finicky product you're ever going to work with. And right now, I'll finish the job, but it's really too limpy. And that means it got affected by humidity. So every time you take sugar out of the jar, you have to put your lid back on. You get 1 drop. Let's say you're just, I don't know, you touch something that's wet. Even 1 drop of water into that container will change the whole game of that sugar paste. It's really such a particular product to manufacture. That's why everybody would love to know how we make it. Like Pepsi, we'll never let anybody know, because everything about the barometer, the temperature, everything in the area matters for a successful batch. But I can feel something happen, yeah. So let's say somebody was coming to you and they wanted a full face done. What would you advise them? Let's say I have a special event. I want to remove all my facial hair, brows, nose hairs, everything cleaned up. What do you think you should do for them?
Like if they have a special event?
Mm-hmm.
Well, sugar exfoliates so they
Nope.
don't break out.
Wow. This is going to make a great blooper, I'll tell you that right now. I can't believe this. But let it be a lesson, though. You got to take care of your sugar if you want it to take care of you. So say it again. This is very important.
Oh, what I said?
Yeah.
Oh, well, sugar can exfoliate too, so I feel like if she exfoliates, she will break out by the time she has to do her event. That's the first thing I thought about.
Okay. I don't know if you've covered faces yet. Probably not. The one thing about facial, I would never allow someone to do a full face without signing a waiver first, because if they say, well, I've waxed it a lot, well, that's one thing, but wax doesn't really grip the vellus hair. It generally breaks it, if anything. So they're not getting a full extraction. When you're going to sugar, like this, all her hair will be gone, and this is like soup. Because I know all the hair is gone, and she waxed before, I'm still going to use it's not Sisimi you have here, but the Injabalo. It's the same formulation, just a little secret there, to calm the nerve endings. But if they have a special event they want to go to, let's say, yeah, I'm going somewhere on the weekend, and I'm speaking from experience, and they end up with a full-fledged vellus hair reaction on the face, that's going to take some time to clear up. So
I remember, I think on your video, you said something about doing a test.
patch test. And this is like this is like the most hormonal area. I would do a patch test. Very good though for remembering. Patch test first. And if they say, well, if you don't do it, I'm going to go somewhere else, explain to them why you're doing the patch test. And if they still want to go somewhere else, that's okay. You're not going to take the risk. Do you remember when I don't know, you're all young, when high definition TV came in? This is a big deal. That was like 15 years ago, so you were too young. I was in LA. Every single actor, every single newscaster, anyone on TV was told, women were told, go get your facial wax. Because you could see everything. There was no mercy. There's no mercy with the high definition. And we were bombarded. But I trained my staff on the phone, do not accept any appointment unless they agree to come in for a patch test first. Some would be pissed off at us because they knew we were really good, like they heard about the sugaring. And others were like, oh, well, that's interesting, yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna tell you that one woman came back and she said she'd never, I won't say where she went, it was a waxing place too though, that could be why. But she was so grateful to hear that we took such good care, because one of the patch tests we did broke out, but she was able to camouflage that. And the other two were fine. So you can't just look at someone and say, I can't even do this now, my goodness. This is gonna be good for my people to see. I can't even, what was I saying? Are you listening? I know, but after I'm so beside myself with this. Kill me now.
Talking about the patch test and the facial vellus hairs. You said 2 of them were good.
Yeah, 2 of them were good and 1 wasn't. Yeah, and I remember better than all of you do, and you thought it was Alzheimer's here. You cannot judge. You can look at someone and say, wow, they got a lot of vellus hair, they're probably gonna break out bad, and maybe they'll have none. And you could see someone who has just a few, but they might have the breakout. So don't be the person that's arrogant enough to think that they can judge something that you shouldn't. Do the process and then eliminate the complications. All right, I'm going to just do, because the hair is gone, so I'm just going to go in one direction, just for extra exfoliation. Normally I could do this so fast, but this is like super, super soft.
I'm like Texas.
No, I lived here. I'm good with that. No, it's the humidity is in the room, and I have a feeling. When I took it out, I have a feeling it got some humidity somehow. All right, so not my best, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm just beside myself, but that's okay. You know what? I still want to do Sisimi or Enjablo just in case, because to me that's quite pink. I'm not used to seeing so pink unless somebody's going to, yeah.
Well, thank you.
I just want to be sure. Don't worry about that though.
Okay.
So essential tonic first. Yeah, see, you're even having trouble putting gloves on. Like, it's warm. So I'm not going to ask if anybody wants to try anything else, because this was like the worst demonstration I've ever done in my life. Crazy. Is there any, yeah, just make sure you melt it in. You know, if there's any, like, you can either sugar it off, but I couldn't even do that because every time I touched your skin, it was like sticking. But you can, when you spray the essential tonic, you can massage the little tiny leftovers into the skin. It's so good for the skin. You know, the burn centers use sugar for some of the worst burns there are on the face of the earth to help them heal faster. They used to use sugar in the war times when they didn't have antibiotics, and they would actually wrap them with the sugar, and it acted as a natural antibiotic because it's a preservative and helps to prevent infections. So, you know, when you think about everything we do, we talked about, you know, all the beautiful, sexy equipment there is today. Everything we do in the sugar world is only healthy for the skin. I expected you to go pink because I can tell from the skin color. I don't know how red you were with waxing, but this will go down quickly. And another way to make this go down even faster, because right now I do this, I feel heat, would be the mud. And maybe we should put the mud on first. I don't have to touch, I could just use use this, I'll use this. Because I want to show you now, if you have a minute, we won't make it thick, we'll make it thin enough. And you'll see how quickly it dries, and then we'll reactivate it, and I'll show you exactly. Turn your wrist around. I'm going to show you here, there's no redness, so you'll see the difference on how it dries, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Well, when we came back from spring break, I had gone to Florida, and so they put a mud like on my back, and it was like, it made
You were
it
burned.
different. Mhm.
Ah, okay, so you knew what I was talking about. Now, if you had it when you were there, somebody put it on you when you went back to your hotel room or wherever, and you would have prevented the burn from being there the next day. Yeah. So now, this is what we use generally when we do anyone that's going to have heat released from their body. So maybe a woman's face with vellus hair, a man's back or chest. A lot of hair being extracted creates friction in the follicle as the hair passes through the mouth of the follicle. It's just a little instant friction. You put this on, and you'll see, especially when you're doing a large area with a lot of heavy hair, you'll see it dry very quickly. You want to spray it, reactivate it, so that the minerals keep working. And then once it slows down, once the drying slows down, you know you can take it off. So if you have somewhere to go, it's okay, because this has to dry for a few minutes. All good. And you have something to wash it off?
Yeah. Just wet them.
She's your helper?
That's our aesthetics. Those are aesthetics.
I know, she's always up and helping.
The aesthetics deal with it a lot more. The cosmos will with it too.
Does it feel more cooling putting it on?
You can feel it like pulling.
Yeah. That's the purpose of it. And I could feel the heat. Yeah, you can still feel it right. Put your hand there. You can feel it right through. Yeah. So taking the heat out is going to help prevent any other reactions from happening as well. We used it as our signature treatment for the first time, LA Bikini, man or woman, because you're going to draw a lot of heat and you might get slight inflammation, and this takes care of it quite well. And then after they have a couple of treatments, they don't want you to bother. They say, I'll do that at home, because they don't need to sit there any extra time because they don't feel anything anymore. That's the whole premise. You know how to reach permanent results with this, right? I know legally we have to say permanent reduction. I am permanent, myself, and so are many others. So you know how to reach it faster with sugaring? Do you know how to do that?
Is it in the anagen stage? Or is it supposed to
Yes, but let's say your customer comes to you and they say, I would like to come once every 6 weeks. How fast before my hair stops growing? What would you say? I'll tell you. What's the first question your customers are generally going to ask? How long will this last? Will this last the same as waxing? So you can't really, because the easiest way is the long way to answer that, is if you come with one leg waxed, both shaven, and I wax one leg and I sugar the other leg. Here's the first difference. We finish, you go home, you come back in 2 weeks. You're going to see hair on the waxed leg back from broken hairs or hairs that were too short to get. This leg should be clear, the sugared leg. But you say come back in 4 weeks, because normally when they get waxed, it's every 3 to 5, 6 weeks. That's the round. So if you say come back in 4 weeks, here's what you're going to see. A lot of hair on the waxed leg, and you're going to see sporadic, maybe 5%, 10% hair growth on a sugared leg. The only hair on the sugared leg that will be back will be any hair that was in the anagen, that was in the telogen when we took it out, and the anagen hair was already starting to grow. Those will be the first hairs out. So if you want to reach permanent results faster, or permanent reduction, I would put them, there's 3 packages. We have minute packages for hormonal hair growth. That's another story. And we have 6 months packages for anything else that you want to work on to reach permanent reduction. In that 6 months, and they can prepay, and you get a few extra treatments for prepaying and taking the 6 months, until you understand their hair growth pattern. You want them to come, so they come the first day, you want them to come back in 10 days to see if there's any new hairs coming out. Because again, you don't know the hair you took out in the telogen, you don't know where the hair was in the anagen underneath it. That's what you want to start to get to understand. So any of those hairs that are popping through the skin, you can now remove in that 10 days. And then now you want to see 10 days later, what else is coming out? What's the percentage? 10, 15, 20, 30% hair growth. And then you can start putting them on the 2-week interval. But for that 6 months, I wouldn't go any longer than 2 weeks. They might come back to you depending on a body part and say, well, I don't have any hair. That's okay. Do the treatment. The treatment is skin conditioning. Decongest the follicles with it. If you can't see the hair, the sugar's still going in. It'll help to decongest the follicles. So they stop getting the little dots, on their legs. You can get rid of that as well. So you decongest the follicles, and then they come back, and now maybe there's 10, 15, 20% hair growth, and you take those out. At the end of that 6 months, you will for sure have permanent reduction. The only thing you can't guarantee, and nobody ever should, is how much. What's the percentage they'll have as permanent reduction, because every single body will have their own rate of hair growth. And some people have mesanogen, 2 or 3 hairs per follicle. So there's a little bit more work to do there. Your job is to learn more about your customer's hair growth, individual hair growth, and then to put them on the same regimen. Everybody come back in 4 weeks or whatever. You'll still have results if they come every 4, 6 weeks. You'll still get refinement and staggered growth, just not as fast. So that's why consultation is probably the biggest thing that not enough people do in our business. They just want people in and out, and just take money. But you take a moment to consult with them, And you build that trust with them because you share information, knowledge. You help them understand what you want to do with and for them, according to what their desires are. If they don't care, if they only like to have their hair removed when they go on vacation, so be it. If that's the case, you want to tell them to not do anything to their hair for a month before they come to you, so that you have as much there as you can, so that they have a good vacation. These are all little things that you learn when you really care. I still feel heat. And then for the minute packages, you're all young, but even if you're young, I have a friend who suffered hormonal hair growth, like a man, shaven for many, many years. She's in a very good place now. The purpose for the minute package is you don't want them tweezing, because most people pluck. They don't tweeze. Tweezing a hair should be flat to the skin and slid out in the natural direction of the growth. But we pluck, right? So you get hair breakage, and you'll see women with keloid, that shave, of all skin colors. When they shave, they'll have keloid on their skin, hyperpigmentation from getting ingrowns and from plucking. So this way, if they go on a minute package, and the more minutes they buy, the less expensive it is per minute. But we teach you to understand how much you want to make per hour and work it backwards from there, so that you're always making what you should be making for your room per hour. That's if you're going to have your own room. You have to understand that for business. So then the first treatment, I would charge them whatever the full facial is, and get the whole thing done and do the mud and comedone extraction, all that. And then once they go on a minute package, I tell them, even if you want to come back in 2 days, there's a few hairs that I know are just popping through the skin, or maybe there's a few you couldn't get because it was too short, like just shaven, right? So they come back, and you just, once they walk into your room, that's when the clock starts, and when they walk out, the clock stops. Generally, you can say minimum 5 minutes, right? Because you're going to prep them and whatnot. And then you get a few hairs, and then they're on their way. And then maybe 2 days later, they come back, a couple more hairs, and they're on their way. So they're never overspending for you, but you're always making what you're supposed to make for that room rate per hour. And then what'll happen, after a few weeks, they can come once a week, and then reached out to maybe 7 days or 10 days. And this, I know you don't understand because you haven't experienced it, but there are a lot of women who shave in secrecy. Believe me. So this is something, different things, we're talking about building business, different things you can promote instead of just the typical, just I do this, come and see me. If you hit the niche and you do your right work in your community, where you do, I'm sure you have little events that you can go to and, share what you do. You look at the niches that your market needs. If you have, women 40s and up, more of that around, some people are already going through menopause and they're experiencing all of these factors. And just look at people when you see them. Just look at them. You'll see what your needs are. We can take that off. I would still spray it because she's so warm, but I think everybody's...
Grayson, only that she can sit as you switch back.
When you take the mud off, ladies, you need to rehydrate it. And once you rehydrate it, it just slips right off the skin. You don't want to, after any form of hair removal, you don't want to be rubbing the skin. Thank you for your patience, Josh.
No problem.
Goodness. All right.
She's gonna go get some more.
She's going to get water?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it needs to be more squishy than this, so that when you put it on, I'll show you. She'll be back. You know that's going to come, eh? The day of I'll be back. You see what they're doing? Have you seen online some of the robots? Oh, they do 10 times better than what we can do. How is that possible? Yeah. I'm kind of glad that happened today with the humidity, because if it's happened to me here, I can't even believe if you guys are working with that. Okay. because that was really like soupy for me.
It's been super hot, but it's also been raining. So it's been
Well, I texted her first thing when I walked out of the airport. I'm like, humidity, there goes my hair. It's like I walked out, what? I'm in Texas, supposed to be dry. I was surprised.
So you wet those down a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. Oh yeah. Oop, stepping on my pants. All you want to do now, you see the good moisture, yeah. You just want to rehydrate the mud. Yep. And on very dry skin, even if I've really done a lot of exfoliation with the sugar, it's still going to want to adhere because there's still crevices.
Here's some stuff if you want it.
Ah, thank you. I'm going to say though, I think these are going to make nice pictures for one treatment. Can you even see it from there? I don't know if you remember what it looked like in the beginning. Okay.
Drop right there.
Drop there? Oh
Yeah.
no, not on the carpet. Maybe on another towel instead.
We'll drop it.
Yeah.
And then we have
I'll take a little bit more of a drier one. Is this dry?
a dry.
Right here. Okay. Now we could do some phenomenal. Oh, you're squeezing it out. You're already going ahead of me. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, we can. So normally, I don't know if any of you have used Phenomenal. A little goes a long way, but his skin is going to absorb it. So that would be too much for my face. You only need like this when you're doing your face. You emulsify it, but he's going to need all of it. Okay. So there's no miracle cure, but with diligence, this, like even you can see, whoops. See when I pull it? You see this? That's the difference it's making in one treatment. Okay, voila. Is that a Lina hair? Good Lord. Yeah? You're going to take your pictures. Oops. And also this. There. Let me see your pictures if they can be compared. Where are the other ones?
Tell me you need to go in there and get them coming the other way.
Thank you so much, Josh. I know it's just a small thing, but I don't know if you really can see. This is really like, to me, I feel good for you because there's a means to an end, It's just that you have to be diligent. And for now, I think just just doing the mud to stop what you're feeling is probably very good.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are gifting, so actually inside there, it poops, it's all of it. You have your phenomenon, you have your mud, and you actually have the.
Yeah, some sweet cheeks and salt smoothie. You don't want to do salt smoothie on here. It'll hurt. You'll feel it. But the sweet cheeks is very good. Plus, it's healing.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Josh.